The 2012 GOP hopefuls are playing to social conservatives. Of course they are. They do it every time. They're going to Iowa, and they're trying to, please them in 18 different ways. But let's start with Haley Barbour. He went on a social conservative Brian Fisher's radio show on Friday, and he wanted to explain why we should reinstate the policy of don't ask, don't tell.
When you're under fire and people are living and dying on split-second decisions, you don't need any kind of amorous mindset that can affect saving people's lives and killing bad guys.
Amorous mindset? I like where Haley Barbour's mind is going. He's like, oh, I wonder what they're thinking in that foxhole. Like, by the way, like 19-year-old straight troops don't have amorous mindsets? I think that's pretty much all guys. How about Republican presidential candidates? They don't have amorous mindsets? If you're worried about guys with amorous mindsets, this might be the guy you really have to worry about. Well, did I say something? Of course, Gingrich joined his social conservative friends in Iowa on Saturday. Steve King was hosting Conservative Principles Conference in Des Moines, Iowa. 500 people attended, including Gingrich and some of the other candidates. Of course, all those candidates tried to establish their social conservative street cred, including Newt.
Some people may tell you that we should stay away from values and stay away from social issues. I'm here to tell you, if you don't start with values and you don't start by establishing who we are as Americans, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Oh, come on, dude, you serious? Gingrich talking about values. We're talking about values? He had 3 wives, 2 mistresses. I don't even want to tell you how he left some of his wives. All right, but look, he wasn't a favorite in the conference. The favorite turned out to be Herman Cain. Remember the guy who started Godfather's, well, partly owned Godfather's Pizza, and he's a real social conservative. And he doubled down on his anti-Muslim views in an interview with Think Progress.
Would you be comfortable appointing a Muslim either in your cabinet or as a federal judge?
No, I will not. And here's why. There is this creeping attempt, there's this attempt to gradually ease Sharia law and the Muslim faith into our government. It does not belong in our government.
Who's doing that? That's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. There are no Muslims invading the country, trying to take over the country with their laws and Sharia. Where? What are you talking about? You know the people who are doing that? I got to be honest with you, Christian conservatives, they keep telling us, including at that conference, oh, you got, no. It's all about values, my values. I want to impose my values on you. So, hey, look, Herman Cain, if you say religion should not influence our laws, whoa, deal. Let's shake on it. Look, honestly, I thought that was the whole point of this Conservative Principles meetup, but apparently not. Herman Cain ended up, of course, winning the straw poll. Now, I say of course, but that's a little surprising. But don't get too excited. Only 127 people voted. What were the others doing? You go to this massively political event, you hear all these guys, and out of the 500, only 127 voted. The rest were like, oh, thanks for the barbecue. I'll see you later. I don't know if they had a barbecue. But okay, so in the end, it's up to Bachmann to bring home the social issues are important because the founding fathers said so point.
The truth is, social conservatism is fiscal conservatism. John Adams wrote, "It is only for a moral and religious nation, this Constitution that we write. It is wholly unsuited for any other." You cannot build a nation unless it is built upon a rock-solid foundation.
Like Sharia law. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong religion. No, we don't want that religion. We want the Christian religion enforced on everybody else. By the way, the founding fathers, here's something else they said. Don't mix state and church. Don't do it. In fact, we're going to put it in the Constitution. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. Funny how she didn't quote that part. Now, for the purpose of 2012, though, the important question is, will this focus on social issues help or hurt these Republicans? Let's find out. Joining me now is Dana Milbank, national political correspondent and columnist for The Washington Post, and Steve Kornacki, political columnist for Salon.com. All right, Dana, I'm going to start with you. Going over there and running on these issues, is it a good idea or a bad idea politically?
Well, it's not as if it's a choice. It's the only way you can survive. I mean, that's why a guy like Tim Pawlenty wasn't participating in this one, but at the last cattle call there in Iowa, the guy sounded like a Southern preacher. He even adopted a phony Southern accent, as best I could tell. And you know, of course, Haley Barbour's, you know, his definition of conservatism is, you know, getting the baked potatoes instead of the onion rings at his steakhouse. But all of these guys know that, particularly in Iowa, but to a large extent across the country, the social conservatives are the gatekeepers. So whether or not it's good politics in the campaign against Obama is irrelevant. They're not going to get the nomination unless they satisfy the religious conservatives.
And Dana, I want to come back to Pawlenty later because he's one of my favorites. But Steve, let me ask you this: Mitt Romney didn't go, Pawlenty didn't go, as Dana pointed out. Well, why didn't they go if these guys are the gatekeepers?
Well, you don't think Romney wanted to show up and promise to engage in discriminatory hiring as his first act as president? Maybe he could have beat Herman Cain in the straw poll. No, I mean it makes perfect sense from Romney's standpoint, because I think the strategy at this point for Romney, to a lesser extent, you know, Pawlenty, is to be sort of the last, and I say this within the realm of the Republican Party, the last sane guy standing. So you let Iowa go, you let one of the early states go, and maybe in a worst case scenario for the Republican Party, somebody like Michele Bachmann comes out and wins Iowa. And then if you're Mitt Romney, you're sitting there and you're hoping that, you know, still 50, 60, 70% of the Republican Party is sane enough to look at that and say, absolutely not, no way, we got our problems with Mitt Romney, let's go make him the nominee now.
Now, those are two really interesting points. First off, Dana, let me go to you on this. Can Romney win without winning Iowa? I mean, Iowa's pretty damn important, as we saw with Barack Obama's candidacy last time around. And second of all, does Michele Bachmann have a real shot at Iowa?
Well, certainly those of us in the journalistic party hope so, because she's been an endless source of amusement to us. But, you know, look, it has always been calculated, and John McCain was the real test of that. Can you ignore Iowa and get away with it? He ignored it in 2000 and didn't quite get away with it. So in theory, you can do that. In practice, it'll be very difficult to pull that off for him.
So if Bachmann is Steve, let me go to Bachmann wins Iowa, okay? If that's a big if, but I think it's possible because she energizes the crowd like no other.
From your lips to God's ears.
If she does that, is she a real contender?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I still think the Republican Party has obviously clearly for decades now been moving farther and farther to the right. And the way information flows now, you know, it really is tougher than ever to get away from a Bachmann message and succeed in the Republican Party. But I think history still shows a little bit, you know, 22 years ago, Pat Robertson went out to Iowa, got 25% of the vote in the caucuses. He beat a sitting vice president. You know, Alan Keyes got third place there in 2000. So they've been coming closer and closer to this moment. You know, there used to be somebody like George W. Bush who, you know, could sort of tower over them, and he could be acceptable to enough social conservatives, and then you could have the establishment. I think now you've reached a moment where there's not that great acceptable guy who can run and can sort of, you know,
I hear
nip
you,
these guys in the bud there.
I know, but look, if she wins in Iowa, are you sure she's not going to win in South Carolina?
Yeah, here's what it is. It's what happened when Pat Buchanan beat Bob Dole in the New Hampshire primary in 1996. The Republican did not like Bob Dole. He didn't inspire me. He was 73 years old. He put everybody to sleep. But they said, you know what? We'll put the sleepy old man up because there's no way we're putting Pat Buchanan up.
All right. Well, look, I don't know if that's the same Republican Party. I mean, I think this Republican Party is a lot crazier, and they love Bachmann. That's what the crowd seemed to indicate. But Dana, look, I like the two people from Minnesota on the Republican side. So that's me coming back to Pawlenty, who I think is the dullest candidate we've had in a long, long time. And I want to play a game with the audience before I ask you, okay? We all know he was governor of Minnesota. You watch the news, you know that, right? What else has Pawlenty done? And no, give him time, give him time. I don't know. I don't even know. Dana, what has he done? I think Bachmann has a 10 times better chance than Pawlenty. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Tim Pawlenty was a champion for cap and trade. Oh, wait, no, he's taken that back now, so never mind that. No, look, he's a guy. Look, governors should be competitive in a general election. He's got a decent record of running in what is primarily a blue state, but the primary electorate doesn't necessarily want to hear about that right now. And I think, Cenk, your point about yes, you know, the South Carolina electorate's going to look a lot like Iowa, and it is correct overall. Things things are different in New Hampshire, but in general, the religious conservatives have come to dominate the Republican electorate throughout the country now, just because it's gotten to be a narrower and narrower slice that's making that decision. So I don't think it's at all impossible that a Michele Bachmann getting the voters that would otherwise have gone to Sarah Palin can become not necessarily the winner, but a very strong contender.
Yeah. It's fun, man. It's a fascinating conversation. It's going to go on for a while, of course. Dana Milbank, Steve Kornacki, thank you both for your time tonight. We appreciate it.